Back in the 1970s, Halloween made a big impression on the public. In 2007, a remake made perhaps not so big an impression. Michael Myers is a 10-year-old boy whose mother is apparently on the game, whose stepfather is an abusive drunk, and who is constantly bullied at school. Then one day he can take no more. He goes on a killing spree, murdering the school bully, along with most of his family, sparing his mother and baby sister. He then spends the next umpteen years in a psychiatric unit, where he makes masks and ends up looking like the sort of person you'd expect to see wandering around an open-air festival, completely off his face on drugs. Inevitably he escapes and goes back to Haddonfield. I can't help feeling this was originally intended as the life and times of a serial killer and what causes someone to become a serial killer in the first place. But then there was a worry about box office takings, and so the Michael Myers story was shoehorned into it. The original story, involving a young boy who for reasons unknown murders his sister and then becomes an unknowable embodiment of evil, is long forgotten. The problem with the film is that Michael Myers is just about the only sympathetic character in it. Malcolm McDowell is a good actor, but his Loomis is only a shadow of the original. Likewise, Haddonfield, in the original film, could have been your town, but here it just seems to be full of people who make Myers look quite reasonable by comparison. The teenage girls here are cynical caricatures of trash teenagers. They use the F word every other sentence. Their only interest in life seems to be sex and alcohol.
When they're on their worst behavior.
How many people who watch horror films are actually shocked by bad language these days? It just feels like somebody trying to impress his mates. And Laurie Strode, a far cry from the mild-natured but strong-willed version in the original, just seems indistinguishable from the rest of her friends. Michael Myers eventually goes on the rampage. The original film barely needed to spill a drop of blood to make its mark. But this just seems to be an orgy of naked or semi-naked girls being horribly butchered. It has a cynical, let's give 'em loads of bloodletting feel to it. There is no tension or style or finesse. We're not made to care about any of the victims, and so the whole thing just feels completely meaningless. And to be quite honest, I think most horror movie fans are by now completely desensitised to this kind of carnage anyway. The original Michael Myers series of films had come to an end. It had lost both Donald Pleasance and Jamie Lee Curtis, and its only future would have been as a generic slasher film series. But seriously, this remake does the franchise no favours whatsoever.